Dear students, lesson 2. Pip meets a convict. Convict means a criminal. My father's family name is Pirip, and my first name Philip. But as a small child, I couldn't say either. So I called myself Pip. And then so did everyone else. I say that my name is Pirip because that's what is written on my father's tombstone. What is tombstone? A large flat stone, usually standing kept above a, a, a grave. Tombstone. Look into the look. You can see the picture. That is a tombstone, and it is what my sister told me. My sister is married to the blacksmith. We lived in a marshy area. Down by the river, a few miles from the sea. One day, I stood in the churchyard and looked over my parents' tombstone at the dark, flat wilderness beyond the churchyard. So his parents both died. He was in the churchyard and he was looking over the tombstone in the wilderness. Wilderness is the region where people are not staying, or vacant space. We call it as wilderness. The marshes were crisscrossed with ditches and mounds. What is marshes? A wetland area usually covered with small plants. The marshes were crisscrossed with ditches and mounds. In the distance, I could see the grey line of the river, and then far away the sea. It was a cold day. The grey land and the grey sky made me feel sad. I suddenly realized that I was an orphan. Orphan? Child whose parents are dead, we call the child orphan. And I began to cry. Why he began to cry? Because he now understood he was an orphan whose parents are dead. Hollywood noise. cried a terrible voice. It came from a man who had just stepped out from behind the gravestone. Keep still, or I'll cut your throat. This man was frightening. He was dressed in a rough grey clothes, and he had a big iron chain on his leg. He was an escaped convict. Convict? A criminal or prisoner. His shoes were broken, and he had an old rag tied round his head. He was dirty from being soaked in the muddy water from the ditches. He was covered in scratches from nettles. What is nettles? Weed that stings the skin, just like a rose. A rose makes scratches on his body and stones. He limped. He could not walk well. He limped and shivered and glared and glowed. His teeth chattered in his head as he seized me by the chin. Oh, don't don't cut my throat, sir. I pleaded in terror. Pleaded, made an emotional appeal. Tell me your name, said the man. Quick, Pip, sir. Once more, said the man, staring at me louder. Louder. Pip, sir. Pip, Pip, sir. Show me where you live, said the man. Point out the place. I pointed to where our village lay, a mile from the church. The man looked at me closely. Then he turned me upside down and emptied my pockets. There was nothing in them but a piece of bread. The upside down view of the church righted itself when he placed me on a high tombstone. I sat trembling while he ate the bread ravenously. Eating fast, we call it ravenously. Now, look here, said the man. Where are your parents? This, sir, said I. The man jumped up and made a short run. But then he stopped and looked over his shoulder. There, sir, I timidly in a manner that shows lack of confidence or courage. There, sir, I timidly said, pointing to the tombstone. Oh, said the man. So, Who do you live with? If I let you live, which I haven't made up my mind about, my sisters are Mrs. Joe Gargery, wife of Joe Gargery, the blacksmith, sir. Blacksmith, eh? Said he, and looked down at his leg. After looking at his leg and me several times, he took me by both arms and tilted me back as far as he could hold me. Then he stared into my eyes. Now look here, he said. I need to decide if I will let you live. Do you know what a file is? What's file? A rough edged tool used for something or shaping metal. Usually we say atom. Yes, sir. And you know what grub is? Grub means food. Yes, sir. After each question, he tilted me over a little. This made me feel helpless. I was in danger. You get me a file. He tilted me again. And you get me grub. He tilted me again. And you bring them both to me. He tilted me again. Or I will have your heart and liver out. He tilted me again. I was dreadfully frightened and hoped that he would not drop me. I clung to him with both hands. He gave me a most tremendous dip and roll so that the church jumped over its own weathercock. Then, still holding me up on the tombstone, he went on. Early morning tomorrow, bring that file and grub. You bring the lot to me at that old battery over there. Battery means a fort, unused fort. If you do it, and you don't say a word about me, I will let you live. If you fail or say anything at all about me, then your heart and your liver shall be torn out, roasted and eaten. Now I am not alone. There is a young man hiding with me. In comparison with him, I am an angel. That young man, can hear us now. That young man has a secret way of getting at a boy and at his heart and at his liver. Ah, a boy can't hide himself from that young man. A boy may lock his door, but may be warm in bed, may tuck himself up may draw the clothes over his head, may think himself comfortable and safe, but that young man will softly creep and creep his way to his to him and tear him open. I am keeping that young man from harming you at the present moment with great difficulty. I find it will be hard. It I find it very hard to hold that young man of your inside. Now, what do you say? I was so frightened, but I said that I would get him the file and I would get him what broken bits of food I could, and I would come to him at the battery early in the morning. Promise on your life, said the man. I promise, I promised, and he took me down from the top of the tombstone. Now, he went on, remember that promise, and remember that young man, and get home. Good night, sir, I stammered. It is going to be a long night for me, said he. He looked at the cold, wet, flat marsh. I wish I was a frog or eel. He hugged his shuddering body, trembling body means, in both his arms, as if to hold himself together, and limped towards the low church wall. He got over it slowly, like a man whose legs were numbed and stiff, and then turned round to look for me. When I saw him turning, I was frightened again and ran home without stopping. This is the end of the story. Read 10 times, write, copy the lesson once. Thank you.